here at SMU, and I want to welcome you all to this wonderful celebration as we honor SMU's most beloved faculty member, Professor Ed Biehl. Yeah, go ahead. Ed, I hope you're ready for this. You're about to be praised, and it's going to be a great evening. So, got a lot of voices that want to sing your praises. So Ed is receiving the 2016 SMU Faculty Career Achievement Award. So we also have some special guests with us here today. I'd like to introduce them, and if you would please hold your applause until I finish introducing them, and then we'll welcome them. First is Dr. Biehl's wife, Julianne. Hello, Julianne. Welcome. His son, Kurt Biehl. His daughter, Kimberly Fryer, and her husband, Jim Fryer. His sister, Sally Klingensmith. And his niece, Beth Santorelli. And we also have some very exciting speakers here tonight, and the first of whom I will introduce and invite to say a few words to you is our president here at SMU, R. Gerald Turner. President Turner is right here. We also have Dr. Thomas Daniel, Chairman of Cell Gene Research. Dr. Daniel. And Kimberly Mendoza, who is a PhD student at Rice University and a medical student at the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston. PhD wasn't enough. You have to do the MD and the PhD, right? Dr. Richard Wu, an internal medicine resident at UT Southwestern. He is also a 2005 SMU alum. By the way, Kimberly is also an alum. Dr. Elfie Kraka, professor and chair of the chemistry department here. Dr. Jim Quick, associate vice president for research and dean of graduate studies. I'd also like to welcome a number of the members of the SMU leadership team, Associate Provost Linda Eads and Julie Forrester. And Linda is right there. And Harold Stanley, Vice President for Executive Affairs. And I would like to thank Ruth Morgan, SMU Provost Emerita, for joining us today. So we thank all of you for joining us for this special occasion. So as SMU moves into its second century, it's very fitting that we've created this Faculty Career Achievement Award, which recognizes remarkable contributions of our faculty members. It's our great pleasure today to honor Professor Ed Biehl with this prestigious award. In addition to receiving this honor, Ed Biehl, there's created the Edward R. Biehl Faculty Career Achievement Scholarship, created for a student in the chemistry department. So this is a new scholarship to be awarded in chemistry for a student who enters this fall. Now, Ed has been a long and valued member of the SMU community, and he's also been a great servant of the broader community outside of our campus. His leadership has provided the essential foundation for today's chemistry department here at SMU. Its current success is due in large part to his expert management from many, many previous years. He has provided inspiration, in fact, not just for the chemistry department, for many, many academic departments across the campus. So here's a little bit of history. Ed joined SMU's chemistry department in 1962. Ed, you look young, much younger than that. Ed served our country in the Korean War and then earned his bachelor and PhD degree from the University of Pittsburgh. Then in 1981, he became the chair of SMU's chemistry department. In addition to his success in managing the department, Ed's research includes contributions to over 250 published articles. He's received more than 9 patents. He's overseen a large DARPA grant and served as co-principal investigator on major grants from the National Institutes of Health, the U.S. Air Force Small Business Technology Transfer Program, and many others. He's collaborated with well-respected universities around the country, such as Johns Hopkins, Georgetown, and many others, on research focusing on Alzheimer's disease. He is an exemplary teacher and has supervised over, get this, 400 undergraduate, graduate, and postdoctoral students. Wow, 400. Well done. In fact, we're going to hear from some of his students here in just a few moments. He has worked in our chemistry department for over 50 years with really phenomenal service, and 27 years as chair of the Department of Chemistry. He has always been encouraging, optimistic, and giving praise to his colleagues across campus. He's also provided extraordinary service to the Dallas community, for example, contributing to the Dallas Regional Science Fair, the Dallas Society of Analytical Chemists, DSID Talented and Gifted Students Program, and the Dallas chapter of Phi Beta Kappa. He's also been a science advisor for the FDA. And he's fostered important close working relationships with the University of Texas Southwestern Medical School. Now his service extends far beyond the campus in the Dallas area. He's been a professor at Colorado State University, the University of Exeter in England, and the University of Munich. Here are some of the awards that Ed has won during his extraordinary career. The Dedman College Distinguished Professor Award in 2001, the Phi Beta Kappa Perrin Prize, the President's Associates Outstanding Faculty Award, the Rotunda Yearbooks Outstanding Professor Award, the UMC University Scholar Teacher of the Year Award, SMU's M Award, the National Dreyfus Award, and the Kematani Award, just to name a few. Ed, you are an extraordinarily valued member of our community, and over the 5 decades that you've been part of our community, we've benefited a great deal from everything you've done. And it's my pleasure to present you with tonight's 2006 Faculty Career Achievement Award. So we have a number of other very important speakers to share their comments about Ed's leadership and service, and our first speaker is our president, President R. Gerald Turner. President Turner.
Ed, if we had listed all the faculty committees and other kinds of things that you've done over the years, we'd still be here after midnight. I know over the years you've been a great university citizen, not only in working with the Faculty Senate, but so many other searches and committees and task forces and various things like that. And so we gratefully thank you for that. This is the wrap-up of our centennial era and celebration, the 100th anniversary of the first day of class, September the 24th of 1915. I see Marsh Terry back there. He taught class that day. And Ed may be the only other one that has been here over half the time that teaching classes here that SMU has been in existence. Not long after I got here, I talked to a number of really good students, present scholars, a number of them that were pre-med majors and science majors. And I learned from them very quickly that one of the great strengths that we had, even though at that time the facilities really were tough because Fondren hadn't been redone, but was that if you get a bachelor's degree in chemistry at SMU, you've basically got, with Ed Biehl, you basically have gotten the experience of most students who have a master's. And that a number of those students were not only cited in his articles, but some of them had co-authorship also. That Ed was an incredible tutor and research advisor to undergraduate students, which is very unusual for somebody that commits himself to that level of instruction and teaching, but he did. And I've had students in my 20 years here constantly reinforce that. It's generous not only with his time, but his resources, and with all things that make for a great university citizen and a great faculty member and leader as chair of the department and other things throughout his time here. Every university has those people who are kind of glue people. They kind of hold things together over a long period of time. And in so many ways, Ed has played that role in our sciences and also in the broader university community. And so Ed, I congratulate you, but mainly I'm here to thank you for all that you've done for SMU. In your 54 years and in my 20, and almost 21, you're almost 25, and you're 55. Nevertheless, whatever time it is, you have been a great citizen and a wonderful teacher for these 400 students and many thousands of others, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. To speak on behalf of the Department of Chemistry.
Thank you, Dr. Turner. I would like to make some remarks on Ed, the man of many talents and records. So I was very curious, so I Googled and I found out, according to statistics, a psychology chair normally makes 10 years, which of course you can imagine having a training in psychology, that's okay. A chemistry chair on the average makes 3 years or even less. Ed made 27 years. That means Ed is playing in a totally different league. When I came to the department in 2009 as chair, I found out Ed is the most wonderful and best mentor I could think of. He shared all secrets with me about the department, and in this way he paved my way to continue his excellent work. And I see a couple of department chairs here. I think they all want to have such an Ed in their building. Ed, thank you so much for that. The next point, being a scientist, a chemist of excellence, that's one thing. Ed has much more to offer. For example, Ed developed into an outstanding architect when Fondren Science was renovated to become a world-class science building. Only Ed, you overlooked one thing, the insulation of the copper pipes in the attic. So, some years ago, at a cold February morning, this led to a wonderful waterfall running down the stairs. And I think, President Turner, you may remember this event. Ed is also a very creative businessman who often finds resources when something breaks, when we need additional funds, and I learned a lot from him. So thank you for that, Ed. Ed is also, on a total different side, a historian. He is really brilliant at that. Can you imagine, I come to SMU in 2009, and the first thing I have to do is I have to work on the next chemistry evaluation, which should contain a whole chapter on the chemistry department history. How should I do that, being new? Ed stepped in and he wrote a fantastic chapter which was applauded by all of the referees. But Ed does also know about other history, European history, in particular German history. I learned many things I never have thought about. For example, Ed told me what uniform Bismarck was wearing when he stepped down. Ed is also a very gifted artist, giving our department a certain flavor. So late at night, which is usual, I don't look at certain people, you will find R&B, hip-hop music streaming out of the labs. But early in the morning, there is classical music in the air on the third floor. Beethoven, Bach, recently Chopin. I had the honor to attend some of his concerts, and he is an amazing pianist. So in summary, Ed is a wonderful colleague, and I am so happy to have him in our chemistry team. Now let's get serious. Let's talk about assessments. How can we evaluate Ed's teaching outcome? Well, that's easy. One outcome is sitting here. Kimberly Mendoza, who worked in Ed's lab as an undergrad. She graduated from SMU in 2013, and she didn't just one major, she did a triple major in biology, chemistry, and Spanish. Kimberly is now a medical student at the University of Texas, medical branch Galveston, and also pursuing a PhD at Rice University. And I think she is the best assessment we can think of, so I would like to take the word now to Kimberly, and before Ed, congratulations.
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Crocker, for that introduction. I met Dr. Biehl 6 years ago when I was a student in his organic chemistry class, and I was a sophomore. Little did I know that Dr. Biehl would turn much more into just not only my professor, but an advisor, my boss, a mentor, but most importantly, a friend. Throughout my academic journey, Dr. Biehl has never failed to encourage me and to pursue my highest achievement qualities. He has written countless letters on my behalf, thank you so much, sometimes within 24-hour notice. He has edited my papers, my essays, my fellowship, my grants, but most importantly, and what he could, and I can continuously thank him for, is that he shared with me his love of organic chemistry. The Biehl Laboratory became my home away from home. Dr. Biehl taught me to think as a research scientist, one of the most important qualities I have to date. It was here that I realized I did not just want to be one doctor, but I wanted to be two kinds of doctors. Through it all, Dr. Biehl has been present for my failures, the lessons I learned in college, and most importantly, he's one of the first people I call to share my accomplishments. I have countless memories of Dr. Biehl, from him walking into the lab, from him joyfully asking what we were doing in our research, from him taking a moment to share stories about his life and his past. But my favorite memory to date is always catching him walking in while he's singing to the music in his office. One of the most distinct and defining moments I have and can share with you with Dr. Biehl occurred my senior year in college. By this point, I had been working for Dr. Biehl for about 2 years. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get emotional. And I had determined that I wanted to pursue research in any way possible. I had successfully applied to become a Rhodes, Marshall, and Fulbright finalist, and I was interviewed for all three. Unfortunately, I did not receive either fellowship, and I came back on Monday very distraught, as you can imagine. However, Dr. Biehl came into the lab, and he heard, and he told me, and I will remember these words forever, "Don't you ever give up. I am very, very proud of you, and I know that you will choose something that is unique to you, and I will support you no matter what." And in that moment, I realized that I could do whatever I wanted to, and I could follow whatever dream I chose. It was in this moment that I designed my own non-traditional MD-PhD program, and I still share my accomplishments with Dr. Biehl to this day. It is said that some people come into our lives and they quickly go. Some stay for a while and leave footprints in our hearts forever. I hope no matter what I do, I continue to make you proud, and I continue as you encouraged me from the very beginning. I am so, so proud of you, and I congratulate you on your award today. You are so deserving of this and so much more, and I cannot thank you for anything else. It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Wu. Dr. Wu is also a former student of Dr. Biehl's, and he graduated from SMU in 2005 and pursued his medical career at UT McGovern Medical School in Houston. He has also received numerous academic and prestigious publications and fellowships. He is now an intern resident at UT Southwestern and will continue his studies at the University of Pittsburgh, Dr. Biehl's alma mater. Thank you.
Thank you for the nice introduction, Kimberly. Appreciate it. I want to start my speech about Dr. Biehl by mentioning my experience almost a decade ago of going to his organic chemistry class. It's famous that for so many years it would start every day at 7 o'clock sharp. And sometimes my fellow pre-med colleagues and I joked that making it to a lecture on a consistent basis is like a rite of passage for becoming a physician or a scientist. And that is true in every sense of that word. I did not want to miss any of this lecture because missing it means missing out on decades of wisdoms and scientific ways of thinking from the most dedicated, engaging, and gifted teacher. It means missing out on knowing the ropes for a disciple to when they become a master, i.e. an independent scientist. I'm honored today to not only tell you what a remarkable scientist educator that Dr. Biehl has been throughout his long career, but also to tell you how he has inspired me to achieve great things in my own scientific career. As you know, Dr. Biehl is a pioneer in a novel synthetic approach in organic chemistry called benzyme chemistry. The impact of this work extends far beyond chemistry. For instance, some of the compounds that he made could potentially be turned into an anti-cancer drug, antibiotics, psychiatric meds, or even neuroprotective agents against Alzheimer's, etc. And these compounds would be incredibly difficult and costly to make if it were not for the synthetic approaches that Dr. Biehl pioneered. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to work with Dr. Biehl as an undergraduate research assistant. I remember when I first started, I did not know any organic chemistry and had just a very little understanding of the concepts in that field. And Dr. Biehl would take time out of his busy schedule every single day to teach me and provide suggestions. As any chemist here in the audience can attest to, benzyme chemistry is not easy to learn, nor easy to carry out experimentally. I remember going through the frustrations of many failed experiments and a few occasional successes. And throughout these experiences, Dr. Biehl would encourage me to come up with new ways to tackle the problem and to push the boundary of the current literature, because that was how new knowledge was created. That was the way that we as scientists make advancement in our field of expertise that nobody else in the world thought was ever possible. The lesson I learned from Dr. Biehl and his mentorship has served me well to jumpstart my productive scientific career later on in my training. I learned to tackle scientific problems I faced later as a graduate student with poise and ingenuity, because nothing can be more difficult than generating an unstable benzyme intermediate. I learned to treat every single experimental failure as stepping stones to finally discovering something beautiful and fundamental about the laws of nature. In other words, Dr. Biehl has inspired me, just as he has inspired so many of the students before and after me, to become an innovative thinker and a true scientist. And that is what I want to say about Dr. Biehl from the bottom of my heart. And I'd like to introduce the next speaker, is Dr. Quick. As some of you might know, he is currently the Associate Vice President for Research and the Dean of Graduate Studies and Earth Sciences at SMU. So Dr. Quick actually had received his PhD from Caltech and had a very distinguished 27-year career at the U.S. Geological Survey, where he performed fundamental research on the volcanic processes, and actually, he also contributed a lot to the studies of magmas and how they produce eruptions. And his research also had the impact of minimizing losses to human life and properties, through better understanding of the volcanoes. And he has published widely in so many different journals in his very productive 30-year career. And it's fortunate that he decided to come to SMU in 2007 to assume, to share his wisdom with us.
Thank you for the introduction, Richard. It's my great pleasure to be here tonight to honor Dr. Biehl. I would like to say that I'm not one of his students, and I've only been here at SMU for what is really a very small part of his illustrious career at this university. But I'm glad to have shared those years with him. It's been truly something that I've enjoyed immensely. I'd like to focus my comments on are Ed Biehl's leadership contributions to the Department of Chemistry. Now, how can you judge the lasting impact of an individual? And I think one way is the number of people that he's touched. And we've already heard about the students that he's influenced and the careers he's helped to energize and propel forward. He's also done enormous things to move the Department of Chemistry forward and make it the research department that it is today. As chair of the department, he made a point of hiring young, research-oriented faculty. He enabled their research by ensuring that they had startup funds and postdocs to assist them in their work. He worked to acquire research equipment, including a multinuclear NMR spectrometer. He launched an impressive seminar program that included Nobel laureates as speakers. And I can tell you that there's nothing like a seminar program that brings in external speakers to make a small department seem large and enrich the experiences of everybody in the department. And he ensured that faculty were able to participate in important international conferences, another way to enrich the research environment of the department. So it was under Ed Biehl's leadership that perhaps one of the greatest contributions of all occurred, and that was the launching of a PhD program in 2004 in the Department of Chemistry, a program that I'm very proud to see is still continuing, and we look forward to its continued success. I would say the current research focus of the Department of Chemistry is a direct result of Ed's accomplishments. Now, to the point of the impact on students and the fact that people around this campus love him, I'd just like to add that in my small group in the Office of Research, Administration, and Graduate Studies, Ed is somebody that the staff love to see come by. They really do. Isn't that correct? They really do. Absolutely. And the students, it's so easy to find students that want to say good things about Ed. Now, my daughter was a student of Ed here at SMU some years ago. I called her up just a few minutes ago before this ceremony started, and I asked her what she thought, and she said Ed was absolutely the most entertaining professor that she's ever had. Without a doubt. And that's in organic chemistry. Okay? So that's all right? And I just read another little excerpt that Dean DiPiero just provided to me from yet another student, an email. It says that Dr. Biehl is unlike any science professor I've had in the past. He adds an element of unpredictability, which is nice to see in an organic chemistry class. He's very fair with grading, that's a good thing, and makes an effort to help every one of his students succeed. Although Dr. Biehl has some spelling mistakes in his emails, he's always available for help and makes it clear when we will be tested. And so SMU appreciates all you've done for the university, and truly it's our great pleasure to honor you with the 2016 Faculty Career Achievement Award. And now it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Thomas O. Daniel, an SMU alum and another former student of Dr. Biehl. Dr. Daniel currently serves as chairman of the Celgene Research Company with Celgene Corporation and is a member of the Biomedical Science Advisory Board of Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Dr. Daniel earned an MD from the University of Texas Southwestern and completed his medical residency at Massachusetts General Hospital after earning his BA in chemistry at SMU, well before that MD, I might add, and with Phi Beta Kappa honors as well. Dr. Daniel, it's our pleasure to welcome you back to SMU.
Ed, it's a special moment to get to come back. I realize that of all the speakers, I've known the longest. In fact, it's 42 years ago that I left SMU with my very first publication co-authored with Ed Biehl. In the interval, I have built and led research groups in academics and industry have been honored to be able to champion the generation of drugs that have helped many, many patients. As I listen to the comments today, the most impactful part to me comes from Kimberly and Richard, who beautifully articulated what I experienced 42 plus years ago, which is that you have always, in my experience, and I'm delighted to hear are continuing, put the personal relationships with students on an equal par with expectations about academic advancement and excellence. The legacy that you've left in this organization is reflected by all that Dr. Krakow said about your mentoring her and positioning the department. As someone who has built and led graduate programs, I understand first how hard it is, and secondly, how important creating a PhD program at SMU in chemistry has been to what Dr. Krakow and the current department represent. I've had a spectacular day. For those of you who don't know, this is my first trip back to the campus in over 30 years. I spent the day with 7 fellows in the department, graduate students, supported by the department in funds that have been donated in Ed's name. And I looked at the diversity of chemistry represented, but more importantly, the fire in the eyes of the students about the excitement that they have for their research. And I think back on what careers are really about, and it's about the footprint that you leave in the hearts and minds of the students whom you touch. So Ed, it is with great pleasure that I invite you to the podium to make some comments to us. But my friend, my teacher, and my mentor, I'm very proud of you today, and I hope everyone in the room appreciates what this man has contributed to SMU.
Well, who is this person you've been talking about? I don't recognize him quite frankly. But good. Well, I am here to spend 10 minutes talking about my life, which is 52 years. It's going to be hard. One thing I want to do at the onset here, though, is really make sure you realize that Patty, Busy, and Nielsen really moved the graduate program along. Without her, it probably would not have gotten up to where it is now. So, what I have to do is I'm going to have to divide my life up into about 6 or 7 parts. And I'm going to be following Yogi Berra's comment. When you come to a fork in the road, take it. I always have liked it. So, starting off with pre-grade school. Oh, by the way, if I were to go back to my alma mater, high school, and which we have done for our reunions, everybody wants to know how my music career is going. They remember me as a musician. And in fact, one girl told me, I was honored by this, the longest time after you left South Hills, all I did was, I would look at the newspaper to see if Ed Biehl was going to be playing with the 3rd Symphony Orchestra. I said, I'm sorry that didn't happen, but I'll tell you why. So I went, also, when I got the Dougherty Award, Tom Thaw, which is strong, wrote an article from musician to chemist. which I like. I want to point out to you today, it's really musician to tremendous musician, because I still have a very strong interest in music. Music got me today. Why I'm here today is because of music, and I'll point that out to you. So I'll start off quickly by pre-grade school. We had a player piano in our house. I don't know how we got that, but my sister told me last night that my dad played the player piano for silent movies. And there was classical music in that room too, which I listened to. The first one was a Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony. The first time I heard it, I went outside with playing with my roommates and so on, playmates and so on and so forth. That was in my head. I just kept on hearing that. I subsequently got Toscanini's playing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Now it was 45, and you had to stop it every so often to change the thing there. Today, when I hear Tchaikovsky, the symphony, the piano, the symphony, excuse me, I'm waiting for the pause, and it keeps on playing. I don't understand why that is. I'm used to the pause and so forth. Oh, anyway, I had a player piano that my dad somehow got. I don't know how I got it, but so I used to put these rolls in there and pedal, and it had music, so this keeps going up and down, you know. And then what happened was I got going to grade school, and after 1 or 2 weeks, the teacher came in and announced they were going to have classes and piano classes after school. And I was so excited. I said, yes, I'm going to take those lessons because I can see now why those keys were going down. Maybe I could do my own compression of those keys. You know? Well, for some reason, I don't understand it. After I took 2 lessons there, the teacher said, you're too far advanced for this. You've got to take private lessons from me. Okay, I'll take private lessons for her. And it was bad. She saw she had some talent. So within about 2 months, I was playing Beethoven's Pathetique Sonata. I was also playing Grieg's First Piano Concerto, first movement, and also the Warsaw Concerto. Well, back in those days, that was a very popular song. Everybody played the Warsaw Concerto. And the bad thing was, I was not getting any technique. I was playing real fast. I was building up an ego you could not believe. My God, my ego was way up there. You know, I was so good. Well, it turns out there was a woman art teacher named Miss Wiggle. And she had a great influence on me. She took me under her wing. And she introduced me to opera, symphonies, theater. And not only that, she had a recording made. She got a little recording studio, and we made recording of my performance, playing of the Pathetique Sonata by Beethoven. I since then lost that, but I do remember listening to it and feeling, oh my God, I noticed all these notes. This is terrible technique, and you're wrong fingering, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I got into an art class, and what was my job? I didn't paint a single picture. I couldn't, but that's what I like. Anyway, I played the piano while the students drew. She also taught in a school, a Saturday program for talented students. And she brought me down there, so I would play the piano while these students would be in the auditorium painting. Several years later, I got a hold of a magazine from Carnegie Mellon, Julian England. We looked at it, we saw our teacher was in there. And there was an article. So we got the article, and there's one page, there's little Ed Biehl playing the piano, and the audience is full of students. Turn the page over, there's 2 women painting on the floor. Guess who one of them was? Julianne, my future wife. So we're right next to each other. Keep that in mind. This comes back again later on in the talk. Anyway, so I finally left. My piano playing was, I was playing faster than the devil and so on and so forth. It was okay. And I went to high school. When I got to the high school, I wanted to join the orchestra. Fortunately, turned out that the piano player, you also had to be an organist. We had an organ and a piano for the orchestra. And the woman had another year to go. So what Mr. Linkenheimer did was, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We'll send you downtown. You learn how to play the organ. So when you come back, you can play both the organ and the piano in the orchestra. Oh boy, was that I started organ lessons, I think, it wasn't until about 2006 I stopped playing the organ in church. That's an interesting story. I'll just mention it right now. I got fired. How did I get fired? Well, I was chairman of the department. I was chair of the pre-med committee, and I was getting awfully confused. And I played the wrong hymn. First time in my 40 years I played the wrong hymn. The minister turned around and he screamed at me, "That's the wrong hymn! 242!" and going on like this. So I stopped. 2 weeks later, he's given the announcements of the people who had died and so on and so forth. And by the way, Joe Schultz died. Rumble in the audience, person comes up and hands him a note. "Oh, I'm sorry, it was Peter Schulgen." I said to the choir, "That's the wrong hymn." Well, 2 days later, I got a phone call. "Can we see you?" I said, "Oh, yes, you can see me in the party." But they did. And so that was, unfortunately, about 2 years later, C.W. Smith in engineering called me. He knew about this. He was a member of the church. He said, "Guess what? What? That minister was fired." I said, "Well, he was embezzling the money." I said, "Oh, that's not too bad." So here I am. I go to South Hills, and I finally get to be the organist and the pianist. And that was great duty. First of all, I had to go in school a half hour early and play the latest ditties on the organ. They had an organ, so electric organ, payment organ. And kids would come in there and I would be playing the hits of the day and so on and so forth. Then it turns out that I got a job playing the organ in church. So I said I started that thing right there. And also because I was taking organ lessons, I got to take a period for practice, organ practice. Now we had the period such that periods were usually 50 minutes, 50 minutes, 50, but there was a lunch, and you had 3 periods in the lunch. So what did Biehl do? I took 50 minutes for lunch, and I took the other 100 minutes for practice. And so I could go anytime, have a lunch, first, second, or third lunch. I could go and practice for a whole hour and a half. I could practice a half an hour. But no courses did I take there. This all sounds really good, except that by the time I graduated, the only courses I was taking that would count for anything getting into college was history, English, and of all things, Spanish. That's why I can relate to Kimberly here and so on and so forth. And I had no chemistry. I had no physics. I had 1 semester of math and 1 semester of biology, and that was it. So there's no way I could have at that particular time gotten into SMU with that background. So what I do then is I became the church organist, as I said before. And I would eventually become playing the organ for the pit basketball games, gymnastics and wrestling. That helped in paying the bill and so on and so forth. So what happened, I also started taking lessons from a good teacher, the best teacher in Pittsburgh, Mr. Martin Meisler. Now some of you people maybe have known Oscar Levant. Well, he taught Oscar Levant. Most of you people in here perhaps heard of Mr. Rogers. And he had a pianist called Johnny Costa. And he was taught by Martin Meisler. Now, by this time, as I said, I had the biggest ego in the world. So I auditioned for him, and guess what I played? You got it. Beethoven's Pathetique Sonata. He said, okay, I'll take you on. He goes to this bookshelf and pulls out some music, and it's by far so simple. I said, it was an insult to my intelligence. He said, I want you to come back and play this next week. So I came back. After I got done, he said, you know, you think you're pretty good. You come in and you played that Pathetique Sonata. He said, by the way, it's not pathetic sonata the way you played it. I said, oh, here we go. And then he said, I want you, if you want to, you know, I have third graders here who play much better than you. Now, if you want to start playing with me, if you want me as a teacher, I want you to go back next week and let's play it. You practice it. So guess how many hours a week I practiced that stupid 2-line piece? 2 hours every time I could get. I always went over there. I could actually play like Mozart. My hands behind my back. I could play it. Anyway, so I go back. I said, I got done. I said, that's gonna be. He said, okay, not too good, but do it. He did that to me for 2 months. The same stupid piece of music. He called my mother up, fortunately, one time. Said, watch out. Ed's gonna come home. He's gonna be awfully distraught. He wants to quit playing the piano, but I gotta get that ego under control. And until I do, we're not going any further. So finally, after 2 or 3 months, we got to the next piece. Well, we kept on going. Make a long story short, you knew you had it made with him whenever he would call people waiting for the next lesson to come in and hear you play. And I remember the song, I was playing Chopin Ballade. He stopped, he didn't say, could you want to play it? And next thing you know, there was about 5 people who came in waiting to hear me play. And I said, I gotta make. You know, so there's where I really started. I keep on saying, if I would have started with him early on, I would have made the concert stage. And one of the most disturbing things in my life, when I went back to see him the last time, I said to him, do you think I could have made the concert stage? He said, but of course. And I said, well, fortunately I didn't make it. You know, I love this life more. I don't think I would be up here with an audience like this if I continued playing the piano and so on and so forth. So I like Yogi Berra said, I came to the fork, I took the wrong turn. The right turn, excuse me. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm in high school. And I joined a piano band and a Polish wedding I'd like to tell you about. Now, the Polish wedding, we got a job in West Virginia, and we went down, and we started playing our gigs and so on and so forth, and that kind of stuff. This is a Polish wedding. We only want to hear polkas. Polkas? Well, we had one, the beer barrel polka. So we played it about 6 times in a row. And they came up and said, no, can't you do something about it? So we played another song that we played in polka time. And that's not a polka. So they kicked us out of there. As we left, we said, well, we've been kicked out of better places than this. But that's still and the worst part was, I was called up one day, they wanted me to play for a wedding. And they said, hey, the pianist is sick. Can you come and do it? I said, what should I wear? He says, oh, a t-shirt and a dungarees. Gullible Biehl goes into this place with a t-shirt and dungarees. It's the most prestigious place in Pittsburgh. All the people had suits on and they're dancing beautiful like that. They saw me come in. They turned the piano around and said, Biehl, you sit here, no one can see you. So I learned my lesson there. Okay, so long time short. After I graduated from high school, I realized that my dad had just died. There was no way I was going to be able to go to conservatory. What was I going to do? Well, the Korean War started, 1951. And so I said, oh, I found out there was a GI Bill. If I take that GI Bill, I'll get 4 years of college. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. So I went down to enlist in the Navy, because my brother was in the Navy. You know, I couldn't swim, so thank God I didn't make the test. So I said to him, I got there and I failed the eye test. So I was very disappointed. As I was leaving, I spotted the Air Force recruitment station. So I said, I'm going to try here. So I went in there, stood in line, and memorized that seating chart. And I passed it. Now, the only thing bad about that was when I was ever put in battle, I could not hit anything. I don't think I ever even hit one thing on all these things. But because of that, I played the organ, right? So I became a chaplain's assistant. Oh, that's the duty. You know, it's so embarrassing. Someone says to you, what did you do when you were in the Air Force? I'd like to say I was a big 38 pilot and I shot down 14 planes. Well, I was a chaplain's assistant. Oh, a chaplain's assistant. Anyway, so what happened was I get transferred to Blackman Air Force Base and I go to the chaplain school.
Oh.
And so I'm back in the chaplain school there, and next thing I know, I volunteered for overseas duty without realizing 75% of the people went to North and South Korea. Well, fortunately, I went to Okinawa. Some of my students know about my Okinawan stories. That's how I get to class. I say, they're going to sleep. Well, when I was in Okinawa, we used to do this and this and this. Anyway, so I go to Okinawa. And the day I get there, they had just had a typhoon a week before that, and the piano was ruined. I couldn't play the piano. They had an organ. That was a Hammond organ. But on Okinawa, the electricity, the source kept on going high, low, high, low, high, low. So you're playing a hymn in the key of G. Next thing you know, it modulates up to E, F, G, stays there for a while, then it comes back down. I kept on trying to find a way to modulate and stop it there. I was a music major, and I know how to modulate it. It's one of the things you learn in music school. And I was doing it, I never could do it there. So long story short, it's chaplain assistant school, and so on and so forth. But, to know, I finally found a way out of this. I couldn't practice the piano, couldn't play the piano. A job became open. They needed a pianist for an orchestra. And I got it. So I went into this jam. That was a big band there. I was a piano player there. I got $10 a night, 6 nights a week. They found out I played classical music, and therefore I would play half an hour before. So I was getting $15 a night, 6 nights a week. I made so much money, I was able to take my paycheck, $130, and send it to my mother, who I felt rather bad about leaving in a situation. So for 2 years, she got my paycheck while I was playing the organ over there. Well, it turns out that when I went to no chemistry yet, right? So I get there and they had an early out program. And the early out program was that if you got accepted in college, we would let you out early. Now I was supposed to get out March 25th, 1955. I applied to Pitt. They ignored my record because I got accepted in there. And so I started Pitt in January. Well, when I got there, this was the key point of my life. I'm standing in line, and the guy in front of me, I said, what? I was I want to be a pre-med. I read a book about medicine, and I said, this is the life. I want to be a psychiatrist. My son here in the first row is laughing at that. Did I influence you to...
You never told me you wanted to be a psychiatrist until 10 years after I got my residency.
Anyway, so I'm standing on line, and this guy, I said, what should I major in? Well, what's a good major for medicine? He said, chemistry. Chemistry? Why? He says, that's a good major. Believe it. So on the spot, I get up there and I sign up to be a chemistry major. That was right there, chemistry major. I had no chemistry in high school. I knew nothing about what it was, and I'm now a chemistry major. And I get in, and I took an exam, a math examination, and I made a 16 on it. I said, well, I'm going to be able to take remedial math. They said, no, the cutoff point's 15. I had to take remedial math. So I ended up taking chemistry, biology, okay, I had biology, mathematics, and then next year physics and so on and so forth. Long story short is, I graduated in 3 years, Phi Beta Kappa, and because I was a good memorizer. Fortunately, Pitt taught the organic chemistry, but if you memorize, you can do well. So that's how I became a chemistry major. Hard to believe. So I go to Pitt, and I'm a chemistry major, and I decided to go to graduate school. So I go to graduate school, and I took a course on the undergraduate in research with Bob Levine. And that's where I really got hooked on research, taking that undergraduate research course. I started off with ammonia, put the ammonia in there, threw in some sodium, it turned purple, red, and then it would go colorless. And when you're done with the reaction, open up the gates, all the solvent evaporates, and you got the solid right there. It dawned upon me shortly thereafter, there's an illimited number of organic compounds. Theoretically, you can never stop making organic compounds. You make a 16 carbon ring, oh yeah, chain, you set to put another one here, that's 17, new compound. One more, that's 18. That could go into infinity. And that's odd. After a while, I got some sophistication. You know, I can go in here and make chemicals. Maybe I'll make one that can cure a disease. If there's an infinite number of chemicals, there's an infinite number of diseases, there must be an infinite number of cures for these things made by the chemicals. Anyway, so that was my reasoning for that. And I got hooked on it, and I went to graduate school. And then I went to graduate school, and I got my fortune. I started enzyme chemistry. And in a period of 3 years, I got my PhD. So a period of 6 years, undergraduate and a PhD. Then I needed a job. I got a job at Monsanto Research Corporation. This was a time of Sputnik. Now here's one thing that sort of galls me. When we have some national tragedy, we got this, everybody puts millions of dollars into science, you know, and it gets wasted by many, many people. Give me an example of waste that I experienced when I went to Monsanto Research Corporation. What they were doing then, they were trying to establish getting grants from the government. And the more PhDs they hired, the more chance they had of getting the grant. So I was given the job of making cornine. Cornine was a very expensive compound, and I 6 months couldn't make it. Air Force officer comes down, does an inspection with us, and say, hey, you know, we have this program. I said, by the way, why did you have us use cornine? Why are we making cornine? He said, well, I was told we needed to have we need a compound that's a solid, and that it has an X-ray structure, consolved. I said, wait a minute. Oh, you want this is for, it's a solid, so you can do an X-ray structure and use that as a method of other X-ray. I said, do you ever hear of anthracene? That's a solid. Its X-ray structure is known. You can buy it. We had been spending 6 months trying to make this stupid compound. We're being paid big salaries. I said, I'm done with industry. Not drug industry, but I want to get into. So fortunately, my wife realized that I was very unhappy at Monsanto. By the way, that was soft money. And as soon as the Sputnik era was over, that money disappeared, and all these people were fired or either had to move to St. Louis. Oh well. So one day, I didn't know what to do. I was very upset. Julianne got a hold of CNN News. And let's see. Oh yeah. And she had seen this advertisement from Southern Methodist University. We had it at home. Put a circle around it and said, let's go. That's why I'm here today. Because I come down and I met Harold Jeske on the way to the airport. I went from the airport and he told me, oh, by the way, you got to give a seminar when we get to the university. I said, a seminar? I hadn't thought about enzyme chemistry, and somehow or other I got to take the seminar. He hired me on the spot. Why? Because they were desperate. They were looking for a chemist and they couldn't find anybody. Why didn't they find somebody? Because I got that letter and I got my starting package. You know, you guys, you come in here now, you get these starting packages and so on and so forth. My starting package was, see if I have it here. How do I do it? I got $7,500 in salary, a $35 starting package. I had a teaching load of 3 courses, and that was it. No equipment in the department at all. Nothing to work with, and so on and so forth. And anyway, I took it. And so there we were. And I gave a seminar. It's surprising that I got that seminar because I got it because a guy by the name of Ogden Bain had died early. He died at Easter time, and they needed someone to come in quickly. Now, Ogden Bain's claim to fame was he couldn't get the students to pass the papers over in time, so he come in with a gun one day and shot it, and he never had that problem again. So, papers, they would come over there. You know? Sometimes they would fly so far they hit them. Anyway, so long story short here, we went on sabbatical, came back from sabbatical. We were only at half salary. Actually, we were very desperate for money. I sat there and I looked at myself. I swear, we had so much debt, I couldn't even get a loan from the Teachers Credit Union. And I said to her, I said, something's got to really give. You just wait and see. So what happened was Julianne got a master's degree and started teaching. I got a job as a science advisor, FDA. That was very good. I got promoted to full professor. That was good. My salary doubled. And I never looked back upon that again. So to faculty members who start off and things look very bleak, something is going to happen if you wait and just wait your time. It's not your turn for it. That's very good. Okay, so finally, I'm appointed chair of the chemistry department. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritties here. And there were 3 deans called me into their office. Jim Early, one of the best deans I ever worked for. Hal Williams and Buddy Gray. And they said, Ed, we want you to improve the caliber, the research caliber of the department. You can use any money that you have. You can even use the Lazenby money, which was a good old foundation, any way you want. So, as Jim alluded to that, I decided what I'm going to do, purchase important equipment. Chemists need equipment, expensive equipment. Spent $1 million on equipment. Secondly, I got some X-ray machines for the inorganic chemists. That's very expensive, so I hired an operator. So we had an operator doing that. So you didn't have to send your samples off to Oklahoma, stuff like this. You could get it within a day or so. That speeds things up there. Also, we brought in some spectroscopic material like IR, UV, and elemental analysis, and we hired Alan Humison, who became in charge of that, and he subsequently became one of our favorite organic lab instructors. And with this, we also provided solvents, acids and bases and gases and dry ice at no charge, adequate startup funds. Also, we would allow a postdoc for these people here, and we paid for travel to national and international meetings, which NSF would not do. And we brought these people in also to give seminars. So we had this thing going here. So the faculty, what happened? When I took chair, the chair's department, we had 1 paper and 1 published, and one grant. I'll not say who had them, but 1 grant and 1 paper. Within 5 years, we maxed out at, let me get sure I got this figure right here, 45 publications per year for the faculty, and $6.125 million from 24 grants. Now, people should realize, if you want to get these results, you got to spend money. You just can't put a couple dollars in and stuff like this and expect you're going to get this. You got to put real big money in there. Also, you'll attract the good faculty, and you might not lose these faculty when they become quite famous. We've already lost one faculty member because of someone stealing away from us. So that was our productivity right here. And what happened was we had people here, mentioned some of the people, Mike Lappin, Patty Nielsen, John Bynack, David Sun came later on, Mark Shell, Bernard Hurst, and so on and so forth. They all benefited. They all had grants. Everybody seemed to be happy, and so on and so forth. So I think I'm just going to step down and let Elke take over. She came in here. The only time Elke ever got mad at me is when I sang Hymn 424 from the Presbyterian Manual. If you look it up in the Presbyterian Manual, it's Haydn's music, hymn. So do a Google search, Haydn, and you'll be able to figure this out. It's Haydn, Germany, and see what's going on. Anyway, again, I want to thank everybody who's come tonight. I'm actually floored, honored, and and the administration and so on. By the way, I was curious. The president was here. There was the provost here. The dean was here. So I asked him a question: who's running the place? Well, it's the students and so on and so forth. Anyway, thank you very, very, very much. Jim Hopkins told me about this. Oh, man.
Oh, my.
Jim, you've had an extraordinary journey, and we want to just thank you so much for your service and your leadership here at SMU. So again, congratulations and thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you.
Everyone, please continue to enjoy our refreshments and enjoy seeing old friends and new friends.